Development of a new global age of aviation. Cultivation of globally minded citizens and promotion of human and cultural exchanges. The realization of a more prosperous and peaceful society. JAL Foundation was founded in 1990 and is based on these concepts. It has continued to serve the public for the past 29 years. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our pleasure to share the highlights of our activities during the 2019 fiscal year. The JAL Scholarship Program, which was launched in 1975, invites college students from Asia and Oceania to Japan each year to cultivate relationships through workshops and cultural exchanges, as well as to assist the development of leaders for the future. A total of 50 sessions have been held since its launch, and as many as 1,641 college students have participated from overseas. The theme of the 2019 JAL Scholarship Program was Natural Disaster Prevention and SDGs. Let's think what we can do towards the next generation for achieving Sustainable Development Goals. 26 scholars and a total of 26 Japanese students in 3 locations participated in the program. First, the scholars visited Tohoku University International Research Institute of Disaster Science in the city of Sendai. The program started with an orientation that reminded students to be open-minded, polite, and punctual in order to make the 23 days a wonderful experience. Professor Fumihiko Imamura gave the keynote speech entitled "The Facts of the Great East Japan Earthquake," which described the disaster caused by this earthquake and ensuing tsunami in great detail to the students. At Okawa Elementary School, after offering flowers and silent prayers, Mr. Kazutaka Sato, who lost his son, explained the facts of what had happened. Scholars then understood that those students may have survived had they climbed the mountain behind the school. In the town of Minami Sanriku, scholars went on a bus tour which showed them the tsunami disaster. Scholars were able to hear about the daily lives of recovery from those people who survived but lost their houses. In Kesanuma, scholars experienced how to make chirashi sushi, went on a Japanese sake brewery tour, and visited a factory that makes ice for fisheries. Scholars then described their countries to each other. Akiko Iwasaki, owner of the ryokan Horaikan in Kamaishi, gave a lecture on the situation there while showing a video and emphasized the mutual efforts of local residents to rebuild the town and the need for young people to raise awareness of disaster prevention and reduction. They visited Kamaishi Uno Sumai Memorial Stadium. and Inochi o Tsunagu Miraikan. From Unosumai Station, scholars headed toward Tono. In Tono, scholars enjoyed the Hayachine Kagura, the locally famous Genghis Khan pot, and went for a bath in the hot springs. At Tono Furusato Village, scholars experienced the art of tie-dyeing and enjoyed the beautiful nature of Iwate Prefecture. The Asia Forum in Ishikawa was held again this year as a joint program event with the cooperation of Ishikawa Prefecture, Kanazawa City, and Hakusan City. Scholars created Japanese haiku poetry instructed by Hakusan Haiku Association. Scholars visited Shirayama Hime Shrine. In Ichirino, scholars enjoyed a barbecue party with global youth members from Kanazawa Institute of Technology. Scholars played the SDGs card game Cross. They also created resource cards for their own countries based on a great point of each of their countries. There was a courtesy visit to the mayor of Hakusan City and the general manager of the Tourism, Culture, and Sports Department. Scholars went through the gorge of Hakusan Tedori River and learned more about Geopark. Visited the Shiramine area and considered it from the SDG standpoint. And the scholars touched the traditional Oguchi no Dekumawashi dolls. At the end of the day, they visited the Institute of Disaster and Environmental Science, Kanazawa Institute of Technology, and learned about how concrete deteriorates. In Kanazawa City, scholars greatly enjoyed Japanese traditional experiences such as yukata kimono, Japanese green tea ceremony, and playing koto. After the Kanazawa students' self-introductions, everyone listened to the keynote lecture by Ms. Aya Kasama of the Kanazawa City office. And then everyone went out in small groups to explore the city of Kanazawa. At the lecture sessions, scholars learned the spirit of the SDGs and how to resolve problems from 3 lecturers who are SDG experts. By experiencing the 2030 SDGs card game, scholars learned how their activities will affect economic, environmental, and social activities. Scholars visited companies which are active in SDGs and learned about recycling activities in Kanazawa City. Jointly with the Japanese students, scholars went for a field visit in Ishikawa Prefecture. And a group discussion was held about what they achieved in Ishikawa. The output from the fieldwork and the group discussion was presented at the Open Symposium of the Asia Forum in Ishikawa. After the symposium, the scholarship students joined the International Exchange Festival. The students performed in front of everyone and cultivated friendships with the locals. With the cooperation of the families in Ishikawa, scholars experienced traditional Japanese life. The final week was carried out in Tokyo. Scholars visited the JAL Sky Museum, and saw the maintenance activities at the hangar. At JAL Integrated Operations Control, they learned about airline operational workings. Scholars then heard lectures on SDGs, natural disaster prevention, and the activities of Japan's disaster relief teams. And scholars were privileged to see the miracle 7 minutes of the cleaning of the Shinkansen Railway by Tessei Company. At the closing seminar, scholars and Japanese students held a group discussion based on what they achieved through the fieldwork session and gathered those thoughts into a presentation which was shown at the Open Symposium. At the final homestay, they experienced the rather small houses in the Tokyo area and got to know each other, especially the young children of the host families. The scholarship program was then concluded successfully. To promote exchanges between today's youth in Japan and China and contribute to building friendly bilateral relations, and as part of the annual Japan-China Youth Exchange events, the JAL Scholarship Program Japan-China Exchange Program was held in 2019 for the second consecutive year. This year, second-year students of Niigata Municipal Ikarashi Junior High School, who visited Beijing last September, have welcomed students of Beijing Yutsai Junior High School and participated in an exchange program to build friendships and experience Japanese traditions. The JAL Paper Airplane Japan-China Memorial Competition was held at the farewell party. Students promised to meet each other again in the future. It is our wish that through haiku, children all over the world not only understand Japan and its culture, but also share their emotions and feelings. Also, we want children to cultivate international friendships through haiku. With that wish, JAL Foundation has been promoting the Haiku Project over many years. In 1964, when Tokyo hosted the Olympic Games, Japan Airlines held a haiku contest in the United States. The reason Japan Airlines held the haiku contest was to introduce Japanese culture overseas. Since its founding in 1990, JAL Foundation has been hosting the World Children's Haiku Contest every 2 years for children all over the world. More than 700,000 haiku poems have been submitted from 57 countries since the first contest. The winning haiku poems are then published in a book entitled Haiku by World Children. Award ceremonies were held all over the world, and children learned the happiness gained from making haiku, as well as from international interactions and understanding. All winning haiku since the 13th contest are visible on the JAL Foundation homepage. How to Make Haiku is now published in 18 languages and is now available on the JAL Foundation webpage. The 16th Haiku Contest was held in 2019 and 2020. The theme of the contest was sports. Through the Japan Division and the World Division contests, more than 25,000 wonderful haiku poems were submitted from 40 countries. Because we want to expand the World Children's Haiku Contest, promote Japanese culture, and promote international exchanges, JAL Foundation sponsored Haiku Koshien in Matsuyama City, Ehime Prefecture, and Kusamakura Haiku Contest in Kumamoto City. In cooperation with the National Institute for Environmental Studies, the Meteorological Research Institute, JAMCO Corporation, and Japan Airlines, JAL Foundation has been participating in a project to monitor atmospheric concentrations of greenhouse gases with monitoring devices installed on commercial aircraft to obtain information. The reason for this is to understand more about global warming. Currently, CME, Continuous Automatic CO2 Measuring Equipment, has been installed on a total of 8 Japan Airlines Boeing 777-200 aircraft and 2 new longer-range 777-300 aircraft. With this system, we've been able to gather more frequent, extensive, and reliable data. We realize that there is an affinity between this atmospheric observation project and number 13, climate action, of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 SDGs, that were adopted at the United Nations Summit in September 2015. In December 2017, as a means to raise public awareness and promote the concept of SDGs, the logo of SDGs was painted on each of JAL's aircraft that have been used for this project, in addition to the existing contrail painting. In order to obtain professional advice to make this project truly productive, JAL Foundation has organized the Committee on Promoting the Earth Environment Observation by Scheduled Flights. The committee is made up of leading experts from academia, industry, and government. In 2019, the project was awarded the Minister of Environment Prize at the first Japan Innovation Awards. Environmental issues have been the main focus of many countries over the years. JAL Foundation will continue efforts to stimulate people's interest in the environment through more reliable observations, as well as explaining scientific results in an easier way for people to understand. With the aim of fostering young men and women who can think and act from a global perspective, JAL Foundation has been engaged in a program named Lecture for Globally Minded Citizens in cities around the world since 2003. The 26th and 27th lectures for Globally Minded Citizens were held in Kumamoto City, and in Honolulu, USA. In Kumamoto, JAXA astronaut Takuya Onishi lectured about the launch of the Soyuz rocket and life in the International Space Station. Mr. Onishi gave precise answers to questions. He emphasized that it is important to get people interested in science. In Honolulu, JAXA astronaut Kimiya Yui showed pictures and movies taken from the International Space Station and talked about his experiences in space. While responding to a question in detail, he stated that it is important to have a dream and never give up on it because of how difficult it may seem. Since 1994, JAL Foundation has conducted an annual study tour to airports overseas for junior high school students. This is part of events celebrating Japan's Aviation Day, September 20th. In fiscal year 2019, after touring airport facilities at Narita International Airport, 6 junior high school students flew to Seattle, Phoenix, and Los Angeles, USA. As part of their study, they toured control towers, airports, and in-flight catering facilities in those cities. In Seattle, they visited the Boeing company's Everett facility and were treated to close-up views of Boeing's new 777X on the final assembly line, and Japan Airlines' Phoenix Flight Crew Training Center. In addition, they met and had deep cultural exchanges with local students. The students also learned about the various kinds of jobs from airline staff at the airport facilities, as well as from cabin attendants on board an airplane. Through this study tour, students learned that many people are involved in operating aircraft safely, and that safety in aviation is supported by not only high-tech machinery and computer systems, but also by the many skilled professionals working there. Another training program sponsored by JAL Foundation is an internship program that provides work experience for international college students who are studying Japanese language and culture overseas. In fiscal year 2019, we hosted one student from Beijing Foreign Studies University in China as a trainee. Through his work experience as a staff member at JAL Foundation, he deepened his understanding of Japanese customs and culture. Since 1990, we have hosted 39 foreign students in this program. By request from the East Japan Railway Culture Foundation and as part of their fellowship program, JAL Foundation conducted study sessions on safety for young employees of railway companies in Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, Mongolia, Myanmar, and the Philippines. In coordination with Japan Airlines and its global network, JAL Foundation will continue its international exchange programs and other public interest activities in order to foster globally minded citizens. We highly appreciate your continued support.